Going back to the coronavirus crisis and a few other political things in my mind. Joining me are Michael Kroger, former Victorian Liberal President, and Steve Conroy, former Federal Labor Minister. Stephen, why did the Morrison government cancel the next 2 weeks of parliamentary sittings? I mean, isn't democracy and debate about this virus now so critical?
Look, you're dead right. There is a lack of genuine discussion and debate taking place. I think Annalise earlier on your program pointed to that, which was that the National Cabinet are doing everything. Oh, no, the National Cabinet aren't doing everything. The Prime Minister is making a string of economic announcements, providing a budget update, and all of that has got nothing to do with the National Cabinet. So all of that should be available for debate. But I do have some sympathy that the problems in both New South Wales and particularly, obviously, Victoria, about bringing all of the staff, all of the people together, could create a sort of super spreader event. I mean, if you just look at what's happened at the school in Victoria down in towards Werribee, if you look at the church gathering in Sydney today where people were told to self-isolate, those are what you can describe as super spreader events. If you look at what went really pear-shaped in Liverpool and in Italy and around Milan, it was about soccer matches where 40 and 50 and 60,000 people were gathering. Now, Parliament's not of that scale, but in terms of the potential to create a super spreading event, I can understand that. I think there is a large degree of cynicism that should accompany this, and they should find ways to put themselves up for greater scrutiny than they are currently.
Look, I tend to agree with you. Well, I do. I more than agree with you. Michael Kroger, look, I accept there's a risk. I know there's a risk, but it should not be beyond the wit of the Parliament of Australia, which supposedly represents our brightest intellects, to figure a way around this. Parliament democracy must count.
Well, Andrew, it's not a big deal, to be quite frank. The Parliament's resuming on the 24th of August. The acting chief health officer said it would be a good idea if it didn't happen, because it would have had to bring a lot of people from Victoria, and as you know, we're international and national pariahs here at the minute, and it resumes at the end of August. So is anything going to be seriously lost by Parliament not sitting and having a question time? Quite frankly, no. I think...
Michael, if it's okay to sit at the end of August, why not at the beginning of August? If it's okay at the end of August, why not at the beginning? And they'll say probably, we cancel at the beginning of August, let's cancel at the end of August as well. Where does this game stop?
If it's the same medical advice, it will be cancelled, Andrew. But is that the end of the world? No, quite frankly, people have got more important things to worry about, and it's what Scott Morrison and Daniel Andrews and everyone else are doing.
Our doctors do not decide whether we have a parliament or not. In my view, that is the tyranny of medical advice. A politician is above that. He considers that, figures out a way around it, but Parliament must sit. We either believe in Parliament or we don't, and accountability. There's a debate right now, Stephen, right in the Labor Party, whether to back the Liberals' global warming emissions target for 2030 or demand even tougher cuts, as you did at Labor did at the last election. How important is this debate?
Look, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. And that's very much the message that Anthony Albanese has been putting to the colleagues. We've got a situation where if we do not change our policy mix, we will not win a single extra vote in Queensland or in Western Australia. And we cannot have a Sydney and Melbourne-based policy agenda, which may be more sympathetic to the environmental issues, but we will be forever locked into opposition unless we're prepared to give some ground. Now, Albo has been saying and doing a lot of good things publicly and privately behind the scenes, but I can understand the frustration of some of the colleagues, particularly from South Australia and Western Australia, who are saying, team, do you want to win government? Do you want to actually win some seats in Queensland and Western Australia?
And it's particularly an important question now with the economy absolutely on its knees. Can you afford this bizarre luxury of global warming fanaticism? Michael?
Well, Andrew, it's an article of faith that in good economic times people will indulge the Greens and the left movement, as they did in the 19 election, particularly down here in Victoria, where we struggled in seats like Kooyong, Higgins and Goldstein. But if the 16 election was fought on Medicare, the 19 election was fought on tax, the 22 election is going to be fought on the economy and jobs. And by that stage, all of the expenditure of this government, which people have given them a blank cheque for at the minute because of the urgency of the situation, the crisis we're in. By 2022, Andrew, people will not be giving blank cheques to anybody. And the fact that Shorten couldn't quantify the cost of his extreme policy did him immense damage. They can't do the same in 2022. And if Labor goes with the same policy in 22, Stephen Conroy is absolutely right. Hallelujah to the Liberal Party and the National Party, particularly in New South Wales and Queensland, and Joel Fitzgibbon will be looking for a new job if they've got the same target in 2022.
Michael, can I just stick with you for a second? News poll today showed a huge recovery for the Morrison government. During the bushfires, it was behind Labor 48% to 52%. Now it's way ahead, 53% to 47%. How serious is this for Labor leader Anthony Albanese?
I don't think it's all that serious, quite frankly. Those numbers were not reflected effectively in the Eden-Monaro by-election. It's great news for coalition supporters, but no opposition leader is doing well anywhere in Australia, quite frankly, and it's very hard for them. No one wants to hear from the opposition leaders, Liberal or Labor. They just want this pandemic over urgently, and they're urging every government, Liberal or Labor, to succeed. So does this surprise me? No.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but well, do you disagree with anything there, Stephen?
No, not really. I mean, Scott Morrison was dead over the bushfire debacle and the Hawaii holiday, and he was in danger. That was rubbish then. The news poll wasn't reflective of the broader mood any more than it is today. And Albo has won the by-election, and the sort of hyperventilating around the numbers today simply represent the current problem and won't be around in 2022.
Look, I tend to agree. And then I think the debate will be more about the bills and how to pay them and how much of a haircut to take. Michael Kroger, Steve Conroy, thank you so much indeed for your time.
Thanks, Andrew.